What's up, everyone? Welcome into the Cannonballs podcast. As always, I'm one of your hosts, Dane Cannon. Co-hosting with me today is
Bang bang Niner gang, baby. Your boy Jake Bowles on the mic. 1, 2. You know what the fuck it is.
guys. We're getting near the very end of the 2023 season. It's kind of crazy. This year flew by. I think this is one of the fastest NFL seasons we've covered, at least for me personally. But it's been a fun one. Not for Chargers fans, but it kind of, because everything kind of works out in the end. And we can get into that in a little bit. But guys, wild card weekend, in my opinion, sucked except for one game. Divisional weekend was a lot more entertaining. There was one game that was kind of just boring to watch. We'll cover all of the games, obviously. But guys, we're going to be covering the divisional round, doing a recap, and then we're going to be giving our conference championship predictions. So guys, if you aren't already, follow us on our Instagram here, like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications on, anything you can and do to help the podcast grow. We'd greatly appreciate. Jake, you have anything to add before we get going?
No, I am ready to get into it.
Man, I forgot about the breaking news. Hold on, let me figure out how to work.
Not so breaking news.
Hold on, it's been a while since I've used OBS. Give me 1 second here, ladies and gentlemen. Hold on.
I'm gonna let you break this.
We got it.
I'm going to let you break this news, Dane, because I know you're got to be ecstatic for this news. So break down the news. Let's talk about it. Let's discuss.
So,
let's go.
Guys, we are recording this on Wednesday, January 24th. Huge news. Probably the biggest news for Chargers fans since we hired Marty Schottenheimer back in the day, early 2000s. Jim Harbaugh. 49ers ex-head coach, coached USD, coached Stanford, Michigan, was a former Chargers quarterback in the early 2000s for a couple seasons as well. He's back in the NFL coaching for the Los Angeles Chargers, and it is probably the most excited I've been for this team in quite some time. Officially getting a bona fide head coach who knows what he's doing. No longer we're hiring the coordinators who could possibly be something. Tom Telesco's out. Chargers still haven't hired a GM, so I think this is kind of an interesting take because usually you see a GM get hired first and then they hire the head coach, but this is kind of taking a new realm for the Chargers, and I like it because now Harbaugh kind of gets a say in who he gets as a GM. So hopefully they're able to work together to build a team instead of one, job creating the roster and then the other trying to coach that roster. It seems like it's going to be more congruent with one another. And, Jim Harbaugh, he's been known to coach really good teams and tough physical teams. And that's what the Chargers have been lacking. They haven't been physical enough. Like back in the early 2000s with LT, Drew Brees, Phillip Rivers, Sean Merriman, those days, that's when like they were playing bully ball, as, Harbaugh is been deemed with. He likes to play bully ball, build up the trenches, play physical, play aggressive, play tough. And I'm excited, man. Like, it's huge news. It's massive. It's huge. I mean, he took the 49ers to a Super Bowl. Unfortunately, he did lose to his brother in the Super Bowl. But everywhere he's gone, he's had success. Whether it was Stanford, whether it was USD, coached them to their only 2 11-win seasons in their program history, which is absolutely crazy to think about. 49ers to the Super Bowl, won a national championship with Michigan. So it's looking better. I don't think that it's going to be an immediate turnaround for Chargers fans. If you are listening to this, don't get your hopes up for like next year being like, oh, we're back in playoffs. I don't think it's going to be that. There's going to be a lot of roster reconstruction, a lot of players getting taken off. We have to deal with the salary cap. It's going to be a process, but I say give it 2 to 3 years and the Chargers should be back in playoff contention.
I have lots of opinions on this. One, I love it. I love it for your team. I'm a Jim Harbaugh guy. It pained me that he went to Michigan coming from the 49ers or leaving the 49ers, but he was a great coach. First, you mentioned the general manager. There's a reason he left San Francisco. It was because him and Trent Baalke did not get along. And
both are very strong personalities, and we've already seen issues with Baalke and the Jaguars.
So Yeah, and Jim Harbaugh is, he's kind of known as not a everyone's cup of tea kind of guy.
Yeah.
He, and like you said, he's a strong personality. He does his things his way. So I like the fact that you said that he's going to be able to kind of choose who he can work with, because that's
Mhm.
kind of what was the demise of the 49ers when he was there. Like he probably would still be the coach if him and Balky could have figured it out, but they weren't able to. So he got ran out of town. Second thing, all he's done is win in the NFL. I mean, you said you don't think he's gonna
Turn
change
it
the
around
Chargers right
immediately.
away.
Yeah.
Let me just rewind a little 49ers history for you, Dane. The team he inherited went in 2010, they went 6-10. They were a bad team. The 49ers were a bad team. They had no culture, no identity. They had, really, they had pieces, but they just couldn't put it together. This
Mhm.
man came in, took them to a 13-3 record and to a conference championship in his first year. I think the biggest thing that Jim Harbaugh
Don't
is
give
going to
me hope.
bring to the Chargers, I'm not saying he's going to do that, because the Chargers, you're right. Like, there are a lot of holes right now because of
Mhm.
contracts, cap situation, all that. He is going to instill culture in the
Yeah.
Chargers. And that is what Los Angeles, not San Diego, Los Angeles Chargers have needed ever since they've moved. They have had
100%.
zero culture, no fan base, no identity, no nothing. And, Jim Harbaugh is going to come in there and immediately turn that shit around. Um, damn,
Yeah,
I,
there
I, I,
there
lost, I
was
lost.
there was one thing that I want to just touch on when it comes to instilling the culture, which I just want to touch on briefly. Aiden Hutchinson, I can't remember whose podcast he was on. I think it was Amon-Ra St. Brown's, but he was talking about how when he was at Michigan, Jim Harbaugh during like winter training and all that stuff would usually be the first one in there in his khakis, shirtless and squatting and doing bench press. Like that's the kind of coach that the Chargers
Dude,
need. They need someone who's a physical presence. None of this buddy buddy stuff. Like you got to teach these players. Like
yeah,
yes, they're adults. Yes, they're men. Yes, they've made it to the NFL, but you still have to be a leader. And I feel
yeah,
like that's one of the things that the Chargers have been lacking with all of the head coaches that they've had. Other than Anthony Lynn, I would say he was a good leader, but I don't think that he was ready for the head coach position. And like I've touched on already, this is the first time in 11 years in Tom Telesco's entire tenure that we're finally hiring a head coach who has previous head coaching experience. So like he knows what the hell he's doing, which is great. And he's going to
yeah,
be able to not only just build up the roster because he has experience, he knows the players that are going to be coming in the draft the next couple of years because he's played against them, which is awesome. That's going to help us out a lot. But it's also he's going to have I think one of the reasons why it took so long for him to finalize his deal is he wanted to say in the nutrition program, he wanted to say in the strength and conditioning, all that stuff. So he wants to turn everything around, which is
that's
exactly what we need.
that's all culture. That is all culture. Everything from the training staff to, like you said, the diet, to the weight training, to the programs they do in the off season. That is all culture, and Jim Harbaugh is going to do that, if anything, to his very best.
Hmm.
I like the move. I love the move, and he's inheriting a quarterback who I think is one of the best quarterbacks in the league, who maybe has lost a little bit of confidence. To be
Yeah.
honest, these
Yeah.
last 2 years
Agreed.
haven't been the best.
No.
We saw him
100%.
his rookie and then his second year like were awesome. Like we thought this was, he could have been top 3,
Yeah.
and maybe his confidence has been dropping. Jim
Not only
Harbaugh,
that, just injury ridden. And so I think
yes,
building up the trenches will help that as well, which Jim
yeah.
Harbaugh will definitely do.
Well, back to my point. Jim Harbaugh, he's a quarterback whisperer.
Mm-hmm.
He has turned Alex Smith's career around. He turned Colin Kaepernick into a superstar for a couple years. Um, Andrew Luck, he was a stud in college. He had a part in that. So, I love the move for you guys. I'm super happy for you. I think it's, I think if they didn't get Jim Harbaugh, it would have been a fail, honestly.
Yeah,
So I'm
agreed.
happy they got him.
Yeah, me too. And it's nice for a change to actually say that Dean Spanos spent the money. I have bagged on Dean Spanos as an owner probably since he let Marty Schottenheimer go and North Turner got fired. Like North Turner was nowhere near the caliber of head coach as North Turner or Marty Schottenheimer was, but at least they had winning seasons. At least he was a proven coach. And then it just always seemed like we were unwilling to spend the money because to succeed, you have to be able to spend resources in your team. And not only that, the Chargers are their brand new facility, their training facility for like training camp and everything is going to be finished this year. And it's massive. It's huge. It's got everything that they need. So it's going to be a lot better. Like the resources are looking better. The coaching's looking better. The culture should drastically change. So yeah, man, I'm excited. I think this is exactly what the Chargers needed. And like you said, if they didn't get Harbaugh, it was going to be a failure. I mean, there were some coaches that I would have been, okay with, but it would have still felt like a letdown because it's not Harbaugh. But it's good news for Chargers fans. So yeah, man, I'm excited.
All right. So that was the not so breaking news. For you guys, breaking news for us. We just found out about it. But let's get into divisional round. There was, 3 good games. One game was half good. And we'll probably start with that one. First game of the divisional round weekend, we had the Baltimore Ravens playing the Houston Texans. The Ravens, I picked the Ravens to win.
So did I.
Even though I didn't pick them I did pick them to win. Actually, we got all our picks. Actually, no, we didn't. We only got one wrong. Fucking A. But we both picked the Ravens to win. They did handily. They beat the Texans 34-10. And it was close.
Yeah, it was 10-10 at halftime.
Yeah, it was close. The thing I was most impressed with was that Texans defense. They were getting to Lamar. They weren't letting him scramble. They were making him comfortable in that first half, and they weren't really able to put up points on the offensive side of the ball until a really, really good punt return. I don't remember his name, but I could look it up. He got elevated from the practice squad, and Steven Sims. Steven Sims. It was an awesome punt return, and it kind of helped the Texans. Was it a punt or a
kickoff?
I think it was a punt return, wasn't it?
Was it? Shit, I thought it was a kickoff return. Either way, it was special. Either way, it was because we are recording on a Wednesday, so it's been a couple days.
But and the Ravens, they had the bye. They looked a little rusty in the half. I think that was part of it too. But in the second half, they turned it up, man. They just absolutely cream pied the Texans.
Yep.
The Texans weren't, and that's on both sides of the ball, on defense, on offense, and the Texans weren't able to do anything. And it was just kind of turned into a snooze fest. So
yeah, Lamar balled out. That Ravens defense, what they've done this year is incredible. Like we had talked about, like, what was the top defense? Originally it was Dallas, and then it was 49ers, and then we had Cleveland in there, and we had Pittsburgh and the Ravens in there. And I feel like the Ravens just continued to improve defensively. Like their defense is just impeccable. Like it is one of the top tier defenses. I think the Ravens and the 49ers definitely have the best 2 defenses left in the playoffs. I think Kansas City has a good defense as well, but I still think the Ravens and the 49ers have the best defenses, and it showed. Like the Ravens defense balled out in the second half. CJ Stroud looked like a rookie this game. He still made some really good plays. He still utilized his legs, looked competent in some circumstances, but they really shut him down, especially in the second half. It was nuts. I don't know what else to say about this Ravens team. Like the only, pushback I might give is Lamar in big game situations, because I think this is the first time the Ravens have won a divisional game under Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
if I'm remembering that correctly. But yeah, they held CJ Stroud to 0 touchdowns, only 175 yards. Houston couldn't really do anything on the ground. Devin Singletary only had 22 yards. It was just complete domination in the second half. And yeah, it's going to be a good matchup between them and the Chiefs.
Yeah. I think the only thing stopping this Ravens team is Patrick Mahomes, honestly.
Yeah.
And I'm not confident in that at all.
Yeah,
but
that's going to be a hell of a game.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I'm excited for both these conference championships, but we'll get into that later. But yeah, great win for the Ravens. They're looking very scary.
Yes.
All right, for the second game of Saturday, we had the 49ers facing the Green Bay Packers. We both picked the 49ers. They did win. They did.
Was a nail biter.
It was a freaking nail biter. They won 24-21, and this game was pretty eye-opening. What do I say? I think this says more about the Green Bay Packers than it does the 49ers. I think the Green Bay Packers are going to be a good team. Jordan Love
stepped it up this year.
Besides those 2 interceptions at the end of the game, towards the end of the game, he was playing really good. The Packers were beating the 49ers. Let's be honest. They were outplaying them. The defense, we want to talk about defenses. The 49ers defense wasn't able to stop the run. They weren't able to stop the passes. Until they really needed to. Then where do I go from here? 49ers. Brock Purdy had a pretty bad game. I'm not going to lie. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't great by any means. He didn't throw any interceptions. He almost threw a couple. But, when his team needed him the most, he stepped up. He had the game-winning drive.
That's all that matters.
And that's all that matters. Everyone's going to have bad games. Everyone's going to have bad games. Patrick Mahomes has bad games. Josh Allen has bad games. Lamar Jackson has bad games.
Tom Brady had bad games.
Yes.
Justin Herbert has bad games.
Yes. And 2 things. 49ers had the bye. They had another bye, week 18, pretty much. Brock Purdy hadn't played in 3 weeks. And it showed. He looked rusty. Personally, I think he should have played week 18, at least a half. But, it is what it is. He ended up winning. He won the game. He came up clutch. And I think that's actually more beneficial for the 49ers in the long run. I think winning those types of games proves that they can win those games. Before they weren't able to. They went 0-30.
0-30. I know that you, when I called you, all you kept saying was 0-30.
And they proved that they can win those types of games. And Brock Purdy can clutch up. And Debo was out, that hurt them a little bit. I wish they would have ran.
I wanted to ask you really quick, just while we're on the Debo talk, is he good to go?
So they're saying he's 50-50. Honestly, I don't see a world where he doesn't play.
Right.
He says he's good. I think he'll play. Debo's a man. He's a man's man. I think he'll play. They know what this season is. They know they know what this whole season has been about. For the last couple of years, it's been about winning the Super Bowl, and it's not going to be the same team next year. So, I don't see a world where he doesn't play, but anything can happen. I do wish they would have ran the ball more with Christian McCaffrey, but the Packers defense, man, they stepped up. The Packers just stepped up, man. I didn't think they were good.
They started off 2-5. 2-5.
Yeah, and completely changed the season around. We all know they stomped the Cowboys out, who are a good team. They are a good team. Let's not get it twisted. And they almost beat a really good team in the 49ers. But, the 49ers won. They're on to their, 4th conference championship in 5 years. So hopefully they can win this one.
Yeah, this was probably honestly my favorite game of the week. Them and the Bills game, I think, were my favorite games of the week. They were incredible, and it looked scary. Like the Green Bay Packers came out firing. I do agree. I think a lot of it was the rust that Brock Purdy needed to knock off. And that's always one of the hardest decisions that a coach has to make in week 18, because it's like, if you play him for a half, what if he gets injured? And I know from experience last year with the Chargers, they lost Mike Williams in week 18 because they decided to play him for a half and he broke a bone. So you always got to kind of weigh your options with that. But I'm glad the 49ers won. Their starters had time to get healthy. They knocked the rust off. So they're going to go into a conference championship game knowing that they finally got rid of that 0-30 mark with Kyle Shanahan of when they're losing in the fourth quarter. They had never won a game, and now they have. So I think that's a huge momentum. You already touched on it. Like, they know what this season means. Like, they need to beat the Detroit Lions. And it's like, as much as I've been rooting for the Detroit Lions, and how even you, like, we love the Detroit Lions, and that was like our preseason prediction, was that they were going to have a great season. I didn't
Mhm.
expect them to make it to the conference championship, I'll be honest. I thought that they would maybe make it to the divisional round, but they've been exceeding expectations. I think that that's going to
Mhm.
be a great game, which we'll talk about later. But yeah, 49ers stepped up. The defense stepped up. Brock Purdy had an amazing final drive to win the game for them. So it was an awesome game. And I think Packers fans should be hopeful for the future. They look great. I think that they'll be back. And I think Jordan Love has proved all the doubters, me included, wrong. I mean, he started the season off so terribly. Me and Jake, we were bashing on him, and he put an end to that. Jordan
Mhm.
Love, I think, is going to be a great quarterback for years to come. And yeah, it was just an overall great game. So good win for the 49ers.
Yes, sir. All right, next game. Excuse me. This one was a really good game as well. We had the Detroit Lions playing the Buccaneers. We both picked the Lions. They won 31-23. And I'll let you take this one away, Dan.
Yeah, this was an awesome game. It was back and forth for most of the game. I mean, at the end of the third quarter, it was, I think, 17-17, if I'm not mistaken. And I think this is a testament to, Baker. For If we're talking about the Buccaneers first, like, this is a testament to, he's put it together. And I think that he should be resigned. I think that he should get a contract, because they looked good and they beat the Eagles. And Rashad White looks like a great running back. Like, I did not expect him to be as good as he is. And Tampa's defense stepped up and they looked great. And this was a good matchup, but the Lions just, they won for their fans. Like, this is awesome for the city of Detroit. I mean, they finally had back-to-back playoff home games and they won both of them. They get to go to the conference championship, and Dan Campbell he changed the culture. He's a culture changer as well. Biting kneecaps off, taking lumps off, whatever it is. And Jared Goff, he has experience in the playoffs. He has his really ugly games, but he looked good this game. And I think a lot of this is also to the test, or is based off of the back of their first round picks. Jameer Gibbs looked great. Jack Campbell looked great in this game. Aiden Hutchinson balled out, and the Lions defense stepped up when they needed to. The game got close. I think the Lions, took an early lead in the fourth. Buccaneers came back, and then they picked off Baker in the end to seal the deal. And it was just an awesome win. I'm so happy for the city of Detroit, their fans, because like Chargers fans, even more so than Chargers fans, like, they have had so many seasons of just ineptitude and disappointment and struggle. And it's great for them, man. Detroit, I think, is going to be coming at San Francisco with a lot of fire. They're going to be playing with a lot of passion. So I think it'll be a great matchup. But yeah, good win for Detroit. And I think Tampa should be happy. I think that they can build in the future with Baker, honestly.
Yeah, I do too. Happy for both these quarterbacks. Both of them kind of like misfits, you know, and they both took their teams this far. We really didn't think much of Tampa Bay. Ended up winning their
No.
division. Ended up, winning a playoff game. Uh, and they almost, I mean, they had a chance to beat the Lions at the very end. Excuse me. But yeah, the Lions, damn, they're a good team. They are a good team. It was kind of like that hype train a little bit. I didn't think they were going to be this good, but they are that good. And that Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, man, they are one of the best running back tandems in the NFL. Jared Goff, when he has time, he has one of the best offensive lines in the NFL.
Yes.
So, he has plenty of time. He can slice and dice you. And he has weapons, so with a lot of speed. I'm looking forward to talking about the conference championship between them and the 49ers. But congratulations, Detroit. All right, last game of divisional weekend. We had the Kansas City Chiefs beating the Buffalo Bills. We both picked the Bills, I believe, right?
I picked the Bills as well, yes.
Yeah. The Chiefs won 27-24, and they did it again, man. They did it again. We were just talking about how it's crazy how, like, this Chiefs team has looked the year
Terrible.
they won the Super Bowl.
Was it last year?
It was last year. They looked terrible last year, and they won it. They looked even worse this year, and they won it. They're like have a chance to go to another Super Bowl.
I think the craziest stat, really quick, I'll let you keep on your train of thought, is ever since Patrick Mahomes has been the quarterback, they've made it to the championship game every single year, 5 years in a row. That's insane. That's absolutely insane, and I'm sick of it as a Chargers fan.
I mean, I was really hoping the Bills could do it. It did not happen. A couple of ugly drops. I saw a missed field goal. They had a chance. I don't know, man. This is what the Bills do. They're that team. They're that team. They suck. They get hot. You think they're gonna win a Super Bowl, and then they choke. And I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I'm sure it. It reminds me of like Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. Like Peyton Manning never beat Tom Brady except for like 2 times. And the one time he beat him, he got to go to the Super Bowl and win it. I don't know, man. What's your opinion on the Bills?
It's tough, man. I feel like most years that they make it to the divisional round, they lose to the Chiefs. It's kind of like when the Chargers would make it to the divisional round or the championship, and then they'd play the Patriots or the Colts. It's kind of like the same thing. Like the kryptonite of the Bills seems to be the Chiefs. And the Bills beat the Chiefs in the regular season this year. And everyone thought that, Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes going into Buffalo instead of having a home game this time would make the difference. And it didn't. Like, this is probably the best defense that Patrick Mahomes has played with and the worst offense, and they still got it done. Isaiah Pacheco has really emerged. Travis Kelce still made plays. Marquez Valdes-Scantling had like one of the biggest plays for them. Like when it comes down to the wire, they just know how to win. And I think a lot of that comes down to coaching. Like Reed he's up there with like Belichick to me as like best coach ever. Like he's in the conversation for sure because what he did in Philadelphia, now what he's doing in Kansas City, like he just wins also. He's a culture changer and a culture setter as well. And Patrick Mahomes, he makes plays. He's the best quarterback in the NFL right now for a reason. And even when you think that he doesn't have a good roster or a good offense, they make it happen. They make it work. And they figured out a way. And this game was close. This game was really close. And the Bills could have tied it up with a field goal, but it missed by like 20, 30 feet to the right. It was just an atrocious kick. I think a lot of it might have been due to the inclement weather. But yeah, man, it's just the kryptonite of the Bills. I'm not going to put them in the same category as Dallas because at least the Bills seem like they can win a playoff game, but they just can't get out of the divisional round, man. It's bad. And I feel like watching this game, the Chiefs in the second half really took it to the Bills. Like the Bills defense, they've had some really good seasons, and I think a lot of it has kind of been thrown off the tracks a little bit with injuries. They do have an injury bug. I mean, they had a couple players out this game. But it's next man up mentality. And I think if they stay like healthy, like relatively healthy compared to like other teams, they can do it. Like Josh Allen has the talent to beat Patrick Mahomes, but overall, it was just a great win for the Chiefs. We've seen this time and time again of they just know how to win playoff games. So, some teams they make it to the playoffs and then they choke. It's what they do. And then other teams just know how to win, and that's what the Chiefs are. So good win for them.
They just have. They're not like. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is clutch, but that entire team is just clutch in the playoffs. Like, and they have been. They have been for, like you said, 5 years. But another Kansas City conference championship. So congrats to them, I guess.
Yep.
But we can get on to the conference matchups, Dane.
Yep, let's do it.
All right. So first one, 12:30 or 12 o'clock.
12. Yep.
We have the number 1 seed, Baltimore Ravens, hosting the number 3 seed, Kansas City Chiefs.
It's kind of interesting, really quick before we dive into this. It's 1 versus 3 in both conference championships. And then I think this is the first year in I don't know how long that both the number 1 teams didn't lose after the bye. Because usually coming off the bye, relatively or like recently speaking in history, the number 1 seeds have been knocked off because of the rust. So it's kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm. Who do you got?
Oh, man. I love that it's in Baltimore. I love that it's not in Kansas City. But I mean, weather's not really going to play a factor because Kansas City played in the coldest game of the year so far. So weather's not going to be a factor, but the atmosphere of Baltimore, I think, could play in it. And I think Baltimore's defense is light years better than it is in Buffalo, unfortunately, for Bills fans. Like, I think the Kansas City Chiefs are really going to give the Baltimore Ravens a hard time on offense also. I think this is going to be more of a defensive matchup, actually, surprisingly. But I'm going to go Baltimore. I think that, if history repeats itself, it's been a decade exactly that it was a matchup of the Ravens 49ers. And so I'm leaning towards that, spoiler alert. But yeah, I'm going to go Ravens here. I think they get it done. Lamar finally broke his curse of not winning a divisional game. He won it. They're in the championship. So I'm going to go Baltimore.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to go Baltimore. They're favored. They're at home. They have the better team. I mean, they've been playing better all season long. Let's be real. It's just so hard. It's like, it's like the Tom Brady effect. Oh, it's Tom Brady, man. You never know. It's Patrick Mahomes, man. You never know what can happen. I am going to pick Baltimore. I think they're the better team. I think it's more interesting. How do you think Baltimore loses this game? I think that's a better question.
If Lamar doesn't pan out, I think that this is going to rest on Lamar's shoulders, unfortunately, because as good as this team is, it's only as good as Lamar can make it. I mean, this defense can win them games, but when it comes to like big title games like this, like a conference championship, it's got to be more than just the defense. I think the defense can still possibly win it, but it's not likely. Like, you're going to have to put up points because the Chiefs, even as good as Baltimore's defense is, they're going to put up points because they just know how to play in the playoffs. And I think this is a great matchup between coaches. Harbaugh has done it in the playoffs before, but Andy Reid has just had more recent experience and proven success. So I think that they kind of have the favor in that regard. And Patrick Mahomes has a lot more experience winning these types of games. So if it was in Kansas City, I'd probably go Kansas City, but I'm going to go with the home team. But if Baltimore was going to lose this, it's going to be because of Lamar.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's been playing amazing since when did he play the 49ers? I mean, he was playing good before that, but like he really turned it on when he played the 49ers and for the rest of the season. I think that was week 13 or
something like that.
15
it was late. It was later.
Yeah, he's just been on fire. But if he doesn't, I don't know if because I feel like the Kansas City Chiefs can stop the run. Gus Edwards and all them back there. Yeah, I think if Lamar has a great game, it's the Ravens. If he doesn't, because I think the Ravens will be able to stop something. But if it's Patrick Mahomes, so yeah. But I'm gonna go Ravens. All right. next matchup, the one I care about. Actually, I care about both of these, but we got the number 1 seed 49ers hosting the number 3 seed Detroit Lions. Who do you got, Dane?
Oh, man.
Oh, well, you already kind of told me, but.
Yeah, I'm going to go 49ers. I love Detroit, but I love your Niners more because you're my best friend. You know, my fiance's family, they're in it. And I think that they're the better team. They've had more recent proven success as well, kind of like the Chiefs have. But the difference is San Francisco's at home. I think that they have a better roster, but I think that this game's going to be a tough one. I really think Detroit is going to come out firing because they've never made it to a Super Bowl. They've never even appeared in a Super Bowl. So this means so much to this team. And I think Dan Campbell is the type of head coach to lean in towards that and like build up the emotional tension of the roster and like let these men know we've made it here. We have 2 more to go. Give it your all. And I think he's going to fire this team up. So I think Detroit will play well, but I trust Brock Purdy a lot more than I trust Jared Goff. The only concern I have is if Debo, for some reason, missed it. We've seen what the offense looked like without him. I don't think that it'll be like ultimately a game changer, but it will impact the offense. So I like the Niners defense a lot more. I think that they're more proven. But this is going to be a tough one, man. I think that Detroit is going to play hard, but I'm going Niners. I think that they make it to the Super Bowl, but I think it's going to be a close one. I think it's going to be another nail biter.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a nail biter too. The defense for the 49ers has to step up 100%. They cannot play like how they played against Green Bay because Detroit will slice and dice them 100%. If they can't get to Jared Goff, you might as well just throw the season away. But if the Niners defense can step up and they can get to Jared Goff, like how we saw them against, I don't know, Jacksonville, it could get ugly. It could, because the 49ers have the type of offense to put up 30 points. I want to say it's going to be a close game. I just the defense of the Lions doesn't.
They're definitely better at stopping the run.
Yeah,
let's put it that way.
And it's going to be hard. You know, we predicate our offense or the 49ers offense on with the run, Christian McCaffrey, but you know, Kyle Shanahan kind of trusts Brock Purdy a lot more. Lets him throw it. I do agree with you. It's going to be a different team if Debo's not out there. If Debo's out there, we have all our weapons. We play our best game. I think we are the better team. I think the 49ers are the better team. Who do you think is a better quarterback in this matchup?
Purdy. I still think Brock Purdy's the better quarterback. Like you said, I think that, I mean, look at the season. I think Brock Purdy proved it all season long that he was better. He had, I think, fewer games where he didn't look great. I think Goff's a good quarterback, but I don't know, man. Like, there's just something about Purdy. Like, he's been an up and coming star over the last 2 seasons, and I think that he's proven that he's a top tier quarterback in the NFL. And like you said, he had to knock some rust off. He went a couple weeks without playing, whereas Goff didn't. So I think that we'll see it this game. Hopefully there's no rust. There shouldn't be. Like, he should come out firing. But yeah, I would still go Purdy.
Yeah. Man, this is gonna be a tough one. This is gonna be a tough one. Because it could get ugly both sides. Because if the 49ers can't stop them on defense, or when they're on defense, the Detroit has the ability to score 30 points too. I think that's the deciding factor. Is the defense for the 49ers. Not really the Detroit Lions. I mean, I'm sure they'll make a couple stops, but I think the Niners D-line has to get after it. If they can get after Jared Goff, make him uncomfortable, make him have one of those bad Jared Goff games, I think it's a Super Bowl appearance. But it's going to be tough because they have a great offensive line. So, yeah, fingers crossed. But 49ers.
Yep. And hopefully everyone stays healthy. No injuries this year. Knock on wood. I mean, I think that's the only reason they lost last year. I mean, shoulda, coulda, woulda, but as long as Purdy's healthy and the team stays relatively healthy, I think that they'll be fine. But yeah, guys, that's gonna do it for today's episode. Talked a good amount for just a couple games. Yeah, this week's episode. Sorry. Yes, thank you. But yeah, Jim Harbaugh, divisional round, conference championships coming up this weekend, guys. So stay tuned. We'll be dropping this episode either Friday or Saturday. There are no Saturday games, so just stay tuned for that. It doesn't matter. I don't know why the fuck I'm saying that. You guys aren't even around at this point anymore. But guys, you know the drill. Follow us on our Instagram here. Like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications on. Anything you can do to help the podcast grow, we'd greatly appreciate.
Thank you for listening. Go 49ers. And yeah, as always, peace.